Kris here, Green Sabre, Doom Telly time, and episode 85. Sorry that there's been a little gap between these. My window of opportunity fucking passed me by last week, so I didn't get around to doing a video. I very nearly did, but then when I was going through the planning, because as you will be aware, you don't need telling this, my thoroughly professional setup on these videos is all pre-planned and there is absolutely no fucking winging it going on whatsoever. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, I do a little bit of planning, unbelievably, for these fucking things, mainly in the way of note. And I was putting the notes together and I thought, oh, this is shite. I don't know if I can be arsed doing it. So the window that I did have went because I lost all confidence in the content. However, you're gonna fucking get it now because I've not thought of what else to do. So anyway, right, minute in. Let's go through updates first. So, fuck, where to start? CROWSBLOOD, I suppose. Yeah, we've been whittling away in the background. We are very close to having another new song finished, and then in an ideal world, we'll get one more. I have got quite a few riff ideas and something coming together in the background that I'm going to bring to a rehearsal fairly shortly for Lee and Aki to tell me it's shite, I imagine. But no, if we can get that off the ground as well, together with this new one, we will have 8 tracks for the album, and then we'll be good to go, really. We do have our debut gig that we have got to concentrate on somewhat, so I really could do with writing some properly fleshed out lyrics at some point, and some song titles for half of these as well. But yeah, we've got a gig around, I want to say like the 20th of April, something like that. It's the Easter weekend in April. That's our debut performance as CROWSBLOOD. It will be our first gig and our only gig so far organised, because we really do want to concentrate on the whole recording process for the album. But yeah, that's going to be at Night Train in Bradford on Rich out of Gods of Hellfire, shout out Rich, on his annual, now the third, From the Crypt festival days. I was going to say all day, but it's 2 days for the first time this year. And we're on day 2. I think we're third on the bill, so it'll be relatively early on in the day, mid-afternoon, approaching tea time, somewhere around there. But yeah, if you want to see CROWSBLOOD's first ever live performance, I can't wait. That's when it'll be. But besides that, yeah, writing in earnest. So that's a CROWSBLOOD update. Green Sabre, we've rehearsed since I last saw you. Or had we rehearsed then? I can't fucking remember. Anyway, all good. So we're good for these upcoming gigs with GODTHRYMM. Or this upcoming gig, I should say, with GODTHRYMM. February the 8th, Parish, Huddersfield. Can't wait. I'll go into greater detail with that shortly, though. So yeah, that's the Green Sabre update. GODTHRYMM writing. There are a few tracks almost at kind of ready to flesh out stage, if you know what I mean. We're at the kind of the foundations of writing for the new album. The tracks sound amazing, what I've heard so far. So hats off, Hamish, well done. So yeah, looking forward to properly working on them. We've had a rehearsal for this gig, February the 8th, Parish, Huddersfield. We've rehearsed for that gig once, gone through a few bits and pieces. We've got another rehearsal before that, which will be this coming weekend, or whenever you're watching this, it'll be the weekend before the gig. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Outside of that, yeah, planning in earnest for our next album out via Profound Law Records. It certainly won't, I suspect, back end of this year at earliest, probably early 26 as we speak at the moment, but let's see how things go. Other than that, there's this gig at the Parish, Saturday, February the 8th. There might be a ticket link somewhere. Anyway, if not, go to the GODTHRYMM Facebook page. You'll find the ticket link there for it. With I'm Void, Wolves in Winter, Green Sabre, of course, opening. Besides that, we have the Deprivation Festival that I mentioned on a previous video down at some farm near Swindon. That's in September 5th we play, the Friday. Can't wait for that. We're headlining the second stage on the Friday night. Nervosa are headlining the main stage on the Friday night. You've got Memoriam, and various other. I want to hang around for the Saturday and the Sunday ideally, really, but we'll see. Saturday looks great. Memoriam headlining the main stage, like I say. Necronautical, I think, are on the main stage slightly before them as well. I want to see them. And the, what they called, Hecate Enthroned or Dethroned or whatever it is. Yeah, they're on, wouldn't mind seeing them. The Sunday, Cancer are headlining. It's a great weekend. Check it out. If any of you from the southern regions, yeah, come and check us out. Can't wait for that, and it looks like a great weekend. So those are the band updates. Right, to the video. And this is the one that when I was planning it, I thought, oh, it looks like shite does this. And I've alluded to this on previous videos. Anyway, to get to the fucking nitty gritty, this was supposed to be 1996 in my decade of metal that I've been doing. And then the final video would have been 1997. However, when I was putting it together, I realised both years were largely shit, quite frankly. Now, I've mentioned this on previous ones, where metal had taken a nosedive. There was only really a few of the big guns, and the black metal scene that was doing anything of any real fucking relevance around this time. To caveat that, though, also, as I explained in my last video for 1995, I had drifted away from metal, mainly because I'd sort of got bored of it, really, to be honest with you. With what was happening at the time, new metal was on the rise and that was coming in. And I wasn't, even back then, I wasn't overly sold on a lot of new metal. And it's safe to say that I am not fucking sold on it at all now. I think it's aged terribly, most of it. It's all just fucking hipster posturing for the fucking sake of it and all that. I mean, there's still bands peddling that crap as well. For me, a lot of the djent bands. Now, I do not count Meshuggah in this because I think they're amazing, but they stand alone. A lot of the djent bands, the fucking Architects and shit like that, I think are largely sort of, it's that kind of and there's no riffs. I think that's a case in point. Now, this is something that Alan Averill from Primordial, on his podcast that I've spoken profusely about, because it's Ace. If you don't know about it, well, you will know about it, so I don't even need to tell you, but his podcast Ace. Really good subjects each week. He's a great speaker. He's just kind of great flow, fantastic stuff. And he mentioned this, that a lot of modern bands, there's no riffs, and he's right. And that's it. It is that. It's just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just Sonics, as opposed to, and I'm not talking about a blue hedgehog, Sonic, orally. It's just the Sonics, there's no riffs. And that is why I'm turned off to a lot of more modern metal stuff and a lot of the new metal and the djent stuff, because there's only fucking so much of that you can listen to, quite frankly. You've got to have something there, a riff, a hook, a melody to keep you entertained. Anyway, I fucking digress for nearly 10 minutes in and I've not even started. My point is, I decided to put 96 and 97 together. So this is my Decade of Metal final video, 1996 and 1997. Now, before I forget, and I've fucking forgotten the bastard thing again. I need to... bear with me. I need to find... Where is it? Is that it? I forgot something. Yeah, I forgot something on the 1995 video, which my good friend Marco from down Portsmouth Way, shout out Marco, top banana, Marco Miranda from Hellust, black metal one-man project, Ace. Anyway, Marco commented on my 95 one with a few that he thought I'd forgotten, and he listed them down. I thought, right, and he just sort of mentioned, he says, Dark Throne as well, that would have been in my top 6. I was absolutely convinced that this album was 96. I didn't think Dark Throne had done a 95 album. I was very wrong. It turns out, this is what fucking threw me, basically. My 96 one, this was number 3 in my 96 list, I think. Let me just fucking double check. Yeah, it was, yeah. This was number 3 in my 96 list. And then I realised, fuck, it's 95. So, essentially, this should have been in the 95 top 6. So, if you remember back to the 1995 list, this, sadly, will have pushed Trouble off the bottom of it. This will have been in 5th. I'll have had Morbid Angel Domination in 6th. And Trouble would have sadly just missed out with Plastic Green Head. This should have been 5th place for 95. So, a royal fuck up, and I started thinking, well, I've made a fucking pig's ear of half of these videos, so let's not put too much time and effort into it. So 96 and 97 are getting rolled together, because as you will see, for me personally, and disclaimer, yes, I will no doubt have forgotten someone's favourite album of all time. But in 95, as I've mentioned lots of times now, I had drifted away from metal. I was listening to more fucking stoner, far out, man, psychedelic, getting back into a lot of the 60s stuff, your Pink Floyds, your Zeppelins, your Sabbath. I was really getting into the whole Sabbath thing back then. And the likes of Jimi Hendrix and, yeah, a lot of that kind of, yeah, very drug-addled, psychedelic fucking 60s and 70s stuff. By 96 and 97, I had returned to metal in some way, shape or form. But I was still, because of the dearth of what was going on, and some of these, I have to admit that I didn't discover at the time. It was a few years later that I got into a couple of them. But 96, 97, it was kind of... I got back into metal by listening back to the stuff that had got me into it. I was listening to the Iron Maiden stuff again, the classic First Seven. Listening back to Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Raining Blood, South of Heaven, Show No Mercy. I got back into the classics. I kind of ignored largely. So, it passed me by is the fucking long-winded point that I'm trying to get to. So anyway, fucking nearly quarter of an hour. This will be short and sweet because there's not a massive amount to show. So, my top 6 and glaring omissions and also rans for 96 and 97. Let's go. Okay, so coming in at number 6 and from 1996, My Dying Bride's Like Gods of the Sun. I've only got the CD of this one. I could do with this on vinyl, really. But I really like this. When I did my Bride ranking, it's quite high up. I feel like it was top 3 or top 4, definitely. I love it. The production's a little weird on it, but there's some really, really catchy songs on here. Now, let me find the track listing as such. Like Gods of the Sun is a fucking perler. One of their greats. A great way to open it as well. A Kiss to Remember's great. For You, I love. For My Fallen Angel, there's some absolute rippers on here. It's not all killer, no filler. Hence why it's number 6 on this list. But a worthy mention. Because, yeah, like I said, besides some... kind of strange production on it. It's all a bit kind of compressed and dialed in weirdly. Or dialed down is the word I'm looking for. But yeah, my number 6, Like Gods of the Sun from 1996. My number 5 from 1997, I shall await the eye rolling going on. This. I think this is a great record. And for me, this is where the Deftones started. I cannot. I've tried. I can't get into Adrenaline, the first album. It just sounds like pure new metal to me. And there are a couple of tracks on there that aren't too bad that I'll listen back to. But a couple. The rest of the album is largely forgettable. This, however, is largely memorable. I think this is a great record, and I still listen to it now. There's some absolute gems on it. There are occasions of new metalness, because they're in the process of moving away from it with that kind of more shoegazy, ethereal vibe that you get from it. There's less of that kind of awful white rap nonsense that was largely on the first record. There are elements of it on here that I can look past, though. But there's some absolute fucking stonkers on it. And I will stand by this record. And I will largely stand by everything the Deftones have done since. So come and fight me, losers. But I fucking love that record. And I love the Deftones, bar the first album. That feels like a very different band to me. Anyway, so that's my number 5 from 1997. Deftones, Around the Fur. My number 4 from 1997 as well is the second album from these lads. Strapping young lad, Devon Townsend, Gene Hoglan's the other big name on this on drums, and some of his drumming's just fucking, well, some of Gene Hoglan's drumming in general is just out of this world, but there is some genuine fucking rippers on here. I mean, you've got Velvet Kevorkian, that's a great way to open it. All Hail the New Flesh. Oh My Fucking God is a great tune. Detox is a magnificent tune. Some fucking gems on it. It tails off slightly, side B, let's not beat around the bush. But this is magnificent. A lot of people, Strapping Young Lad weirdly bypassed a lot of people, including myself. I got I will be honest, I got into Devon Townsend before dipping back into... My first experience of Devon Townsend, without knowing who the hell he was on that, for me personally, the massively disappointing Steve Vai album that followed Passion and Warfare. That's an absolute fucking masterwork. Is it called Sex and Religion or something? But it's Steve Vai being a straight up band as opposed to a soloist concept album, which Passion and Warfare definitely is. Sex and Religion's more a straight up rock band. Devon Townsend does some incredible vocal work on it, but it's not really for me. It's a bit cock rocky and a bit fucking egocentric. I mean, it's Steve Vai we're talking about, but who I love, but he is very much fucking full of himself. He's mellowed in his age, but anyway, we're not talking about fucking Steve Vai. We're talking about Devon Townsend, and in particular, Strapping Young Lad, a band that entirely bypassed me. It was, I'm talking mid-2000s later, that I finally delved into Strapping Young Lad. Possibly even 2009, 10? Anyway, we're fucking long past the fucking birth of them. But there was a big gap between this one. This one's 97, and then the next one, Alien, is that 2003? There's a big old gap between them anyway. But I love this, so stop fucking waffling, Kris. That's my number 4 from 1997, City by Strapping Young Lad. Okay, we're into decent fucking... They're all decent, but we're into properly decent territory now. My number 3, I'm from 1997 as well. This masterpiece from Electric Wizard, Come My Fanatics. This is a fairly recent repress. It's like a 2023 repress on very dark sort of green, swirly, black vinyl, something like that. Yeah, anyway, I've been after this for fucking donkeys, and finally got hold of it in a repress from Crash Records in Leeds. Shout out Crash. Possibly my favourite Electric Wizard album, if I'm being honest. It's still the one that I will largely go back to. Besides Dope Throne, of course, it's another classic. And some of the later ones, Time to Die, I really, really like. And I fucking love the Super Coven single that I finally got hold of. It's not quite here yet, but I found a vinyl copy of it, courtesy of a very good friend. So I will shout that out when it arrives, though. But yeah, my number 3 for 96 and 97, I'm from 97, Come My Fanatics by Electric Wizard. My number 2, and let's try not to get cancelled off of YouTube, but Burzum's second finest hour for me. Burzum's Philosopheme, and... this is magnificent. Dunkelheit, the opening track. I mean, it's fucking black metal albums. You can barely read what's on it. One of possibly my favourite. Even though Vislicitatos is my favourite Burzum album, my favourite Burzum song, Dunkelheit, is on Philosopheme. The only reason that Vislicit is higher ranked for me of the Burzum back catalogue is because of the ambient oddity that is the last track on here, like 20 odd minutes or whatever it is, of sort of pure, almost electronic ambience and stuff. And it's where Burzum went after this. But yeah, I just think Vislicit, that has a lot of ambient moments on it, is a more complete Burzum record than this one is. But this is also a masterpiece, let's not go without saying. But an absolute fucking ripper and a worthy number 2 from 1996. This was Philosophy. And my number 1, I've shown this a few times, also from 1996, is this absolute masterpiece. My favourite Type O Negative record. All killer, no filler, an absolute fucking monster of a record. October Rust, yes, original pressing. I've said that lots of times as well. But it's one of the few very, very valuable records I have, so I like to show it off. I've gone on in great detail about how great this album is, so I won't fucking bore you to death again, but I absolutely love it. Apart from, I just said all killer, no filler. Apart from that fucking daft joke at the start that annoys me, like, your CD's broken, we're Type O Negative. Well, what's the fucking point in that? And then not only that, they fucking compound it by doing it again on the next album. It wasn't funny the first time, lads. Leave it. But so yeah, I still found that annoying, so I just skipped straight to track 3 whenever I put this on. Slightly harder to do with the vinyl, but yeah, my number 1 comfortably, October Rust, Type O Negative in absolute swagger mode. Right, honourable mentions, and to the 2 that I have physicals of, more eye rolling. absolute masterpiece of a record, and fuck you if you think otherwise. This is a gem. I like Radiohead's more fucking mental moments that they went on to after this as well. And Pyramid Song's one of the greatest songs ever fucking written. And fuck you if you think otherwise. Anyway, sorry, that came across as very confrontational. I love this record. I was all about this in 1997. This was the album that got most rotations for me in 1997. I was riding the crest of a wave. It was a great times back then. Yeah. Nice summer. Lots of fucking smoking, illicit substances, and this was like something I'd not heard before. There were some rock and some metal sensibilities in it. There's no metal on it. Let's not get excitable. But the melancholic vibe I absolutely fucking loved it. And there's a lot of post rock and post metal that I love that has taken massively from this and from a lot of Radiohead's back catalogue. Hugely influential, great album. I will not be argued with. So save it. So yeah, honourable mention. Radiohead's OK Computer. I mean, thinking about it, that maybe should have made the top 6, really. I might have taken out Deftones and put that in. Anyway, what's done is done. Another honourable mention. Faith No More's album of the year on their last album before they took a kind of indefinite hiatus. From 1997. I've said this lots of times. I love Faith No More. I love everything about them. I love every record in their back catalogue. And when I ranked it, this was either bottom or second bottom. If I ranked it now, I would comfortably put this as the worst Faith No More record. It's not a bad record. It just feels tired in a sense. And there's just an element of them going through the motions. There are some straight up classics on here from the Faith No More canon. But also, there's just a slight feeling of dialed in and when they split up, like a year later or whenever it was, or 6 or 7 months, whenever, it kind of, you look back on this and thought, you could kind of hear that they were bored almost as such. And I think that's a cruel way of describing what is a great album and better than a lot of bands' fucking stuff that they've put out. But like I say, Faith No More didn't do a bad record, but an honourable mention for that because it's good, but it's not magnificent. Okay, honourable mentions for loads of other stuff. Now I'm going to quickly rattle through these, and you might not even get images, quite frankly. So, Swan Song, Carcass, comfortably, including their newer stuff, comfortably their worst hour for me. Swan Song, it's not great. I've been back and tried it. There's a couple of decent tracks on it, but there's a lot of, I don't know, it's a bit much groove metal on it for me. So that's why it generally gets a hard pass. There are other Carcass records that I listen to when I'm in Carcass mood. Cryptopsy. I'd forgotten all about this. Shout out Lee. Lee reminded me of it. The Non So Vile or Not So Vile album from 96. That's decent. Again, an album that bypassed me in 96. I only heard it many years later, but an honourable, Jesus, I'm going to stop saying that because I clearly can't. Honourable mention for it. Neurosis, Through Silver in Blood. Great album. That was very close. I don't have a physical of it, so I might just show an image inserted. I've only got download of this currently. Need to remedy that, but Neurosis vinyl certainly is quite hard to come by. Tool. Wherever you sit on Tool, I don't mind them. It's weird. A lot of people are like, you either love them or you hate them. I think they're all right. I think they've done some great songs. I think they've done a lot of filler, blah, blah. But Enemy, I'll insert image. That album from, was that 96? I've not listed it. I feel like it's 96. Anyway, it's one of the 2 years. All right. Not threatening. Emperor, I will insert image because I love this album. Close, it was on the 97 list. Anyway, the Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. The album that followed in the Nightside Eclipse, and I like it. There's more synth on it than I'm comfortable with in places, but I still think it's a great record. So deal with that as you wish. I think it's decent. Very close to the top 6 for this one, but not quite. Where am I? Corrosion of Conformity. Wise Blood. I'll insert an image. Yeah, not bad. but very much a downturn from Deliverance, the album that had preceded this. And the album after this, is it America's Volume Dealer? The one with the swirly front cover is a lot better than this as well. So, yeah, honourable mention for Wise Blood 96. Crowbar, forgotten the name of the album, but it will be inserted from 96. Always decent, Crowbar, and an honourable mention for that, because that was close to the 96 list. And then other bands like Bloodhouse Node, Dark Throne, Opeth, Immolation, Gorgoroth, all put out albums in this period that were decent but didn't threaten the top 6 on this one. So let's get on to Glaring Emissions. And I'm not going to speak too long on these because they're shit, so I don't want to waste my breath on them. But I've got 2/3 Glaring Emissions to cover 96 and 97. First image inserted, Roots, Sepultura. There are maybe 2 half-decent tracks on this whole album, and it's long. The rest of it, garbage. Max Cavalera had gone off on his kind of nu metal thing. Now, the argument is that you could argue that he sort of began it with Chaos AD, that he started that kind of sonic groove thing that is all what nu metal bands were about. And you could argue that he did it better than a lot of them. But it was still nu metal, and I think he went off on a slightly fashionable tangent and should have just concentrated on what Sepultura were brilliant at, which is Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, and Arise. That was Sepultura in the pomp. And yeah, bands have to move on, but I didn't like where he moved with it. And I particularly dislike this album. It's just boring for the large part. So, Roots, Sepultura. And a double mention for my other Glaring Emissions are Metallica's 2 absolute heaps of shit that they released in 96 and 97. And, controversial statement, both of these records are worse than Saint Anger. When I eventually do a Metallica ranking, anyway, I've inserted images at some point, Load and Reload. When I eventually do a Metallica ranking, these are comfortably the bottom 2. Reload, the worst album. One of the worst metal albums in existence, personally. And do not fucking start me on that Marianne Faithfull track. The Memory Remains. Why anyone thinks that's good is absolutely beyond me. It is the laziest dogshit riff in existence driving its way through it, with a pensioner wailing over the top of it. What is wrong with you? There is nothing good about that song. And the less said about Reload, the better. It is an absolute pile of crap from start to finish. Fuel's all right, and there's another, is it Unforgiven 2? And something else, one of the more filler songs that's all right. I always said, and I've said this to friends, Load and Reload, you would have got a decent EP if you combined the best tracks off each, and only an EP. There's about 6 songs off of the pair of the records that are any good, and I would say 4 of them are off a Load that's the better of the 2. There's some alright ones, and I really like Hero of the Day off of Load. No, it's not a classic Metallica song, but I think it's a decent song. But largely it's shit. This is where Metallica have truly disappeared up their own arse. And say what you want about Saint Anger, and the less said about the fucking drum sound, the better. But say what you want about that. They are at least trying something different. This, for me, was Metallica trying to be a chart-topping act. They'd lost all their metal sensibilities and were just trying to write pop songs. Lars had been listening to too much fucking Oasis at this point, and yeah, it clearly dripped into that. But yeah, Glaring Emissions, because they are both shite, and I won't be told otherwise. Load and Reload, terrible, terrible, terrible records, and Metallica's worst. Saint Anger is not their worst record. Anyway, let that be an end to the conversation. Saint Anger's not good, let's be honest, but it's better than these 2. So, that's it. Right, thanks for watching. Before I finish, I would just like to mention Thomas from Merciful Metal channel, I will link to his video below, has put out a new challenge with his current video that I thought sounds ace, so I might well have a go at this next week, so wait and see. But Know Your Collection, like I say, there's a link to the video below, so go and get it watched. Know Your Collection, and it's like he's set a little challenge to kind of go through albums in your collection. What was the most recent one that you've listened to? But also, find some albums in your collection that you've not listened to for years, and I'll bet you there's a few down there, quite honestly. So yeah, I'm all over this, so I'm going to have a go at it. But a great idea, so get involved. So that'll probably be next week's video. Other than that, yeah, again, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. I have lost a couple of subscribers, so I'm down 257 again. But it's not the fucking end of the world, kids, is it? I mean, I can't believe I've got 257, quite frankly. People willing to put up with this fucking nonsense, but there we go. So, yeah, but let's get this up. Come on, I need millions of subscribers to validate my life, so let's do this. Maybe I should do some OnlyFans content. Might be the way forward. But, right, enough waffle, half an hour. Let's wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for doing so if you have. And until the next time, toodle pip. See you later, guys and gals.